to talk about, but these two teams, I feel weird about both of them, Shriggs. You've got the Packers being led by their defense. You have the Eagles, who in my head were a Super Bowl contender with tons of depth, being injury-ridden and not performing up to par. And I don't know what to make of it. So let's bring in Stacey Dales in our lead block.
Let's do it. Lead block.
To get us set with all of the headlines you need, she is at Lambeau this morning. Stacey, set the stage for us, and let's get things straight with these teams as they get set for Thursday night action.
Good morning, Kay. Good morning, you guys in the studio. Listen, for the incoming Philadelphia Eagles, they're 1-2, but they truly believe they are close. Mistakes, fumbles, drop passes, penalties. Doug Peterson, talking to him this week on a conference call here in Green Bay, they could have been a 3-0 team at this stage. Maybe at the very least a 2-1 team. That's how his message is resonating with these players. We're still a really good football team. Alshon Jeffrey is going to play tonight. And then Grugier Hill at the linebacker position, he's going to return. He had a fantastic training camp, and he's going to be a really needed addition here tonight against this Packers offense that is trying to score more points, which transitions me, guys, to the Packers. They are 3-0, and they are loving it. In fact, I think the consensus on the outside, nobody expected Green Bay to start out this season 3-0, except for the Green Bay Packers. And talking to Aaron Rodgers, you guys in the locker room this week, he said, we're excited. If you could see our post-game celebrations with Matt LaFleur in the locker room, this is a place we haven't been in a long time. There's only 2 losses in this division, and Green Bay has handed those 2 losses to Chicago and Minnesota. So it's a really tough division. They're happy they're ahead of it, and they want to go 4-0 here tonight, on Thursday Night Football, to get a little bit more rest and transition into the next phase this season.
We'll see if they can go 4-0 tonight at home. Thank you so much, Stacey Dales. You'll be joining us as the sun starts to rise there in the middle of the country. Back here at the breakfast table, these are 2 different teams, right? You have an undefeated, confident, happy, loving it team with the Packers. They get to play at home tonight. Then you have the Eagles, 1-2. They're playing with that back against the wall mentality. What sets up for a better situation tonight?
Yeah, with all due respect to Marcus Mariota and Gardner Minshew, this is why we love Thursday night.
Hey, baby.
Wentz, Rodgers, Eagles, Packers. This is the matchup we've been waiting for. And I'll tell you this, Kay. For years, we would lament on this show, the only way the Packers win is when number 12 throws him on his back and Aaron Rodgers finds a way to do a miracle Hail Mary and runs around and does pirouettes and gets it. It's always on his shoulders, getting some help. They finally have gotten some help, and it's not necessarily on the offensive side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball. And I love it if I'm a Packers fan or a Packers player. The last 2 years alone, they have rebuilt the defense. Their GM is Brian Gutekunst. His nickname is Goody.
Okay.
Look at what Goody has brought in the last 2 years, and all of these guys are playing major roles, right down to the rookie Rashawn Gary and the second-year guy Jair Alexander, who has been an all-pro cornerback through 3 games. This defense is lights out. It's not all on Rodgers. And if I'm a Packers fan or a member of the Packers organization, I'm feeling really good because that's the case. Finally, there's balance, and you should not feel bad about that. Everyone's waiting for the offense.
Sure.
What if the offense doesn't lead the way?
Yeah.
That's okay, too.
Do you think Rodgers feels like he needs to prove that he's still an MVP caliber guy?
I don't. I think Rodgers is probably thrilled that A, he wasn't sacked last week by the Broncos, meaning the offensive line is playing great, and B, it's not all on him. Everyone's going to dissect the relationship with LaFleur and Rodgers and Devontae Adams and all this stuff. He's probably loving it. The defense is great, 3-0. It's not all on his shoulders. This Packers team is scary.
I like that, man. Shout out to Goody.
Goody.
Everybody loves a good Goody call. Hey. All right, here we go. I'm looking at these two teams. Talk about it. I was looking at these 2 teams, and I was trying to figure out a way to talk about Aaron Rodgers and being undefeated. And I was looking up quotes this morning, and I found a quote, and it was by a guy that we're all familiar with. And he says, I know that we're not going to go undefeated. I know that I'm not going to throw a touchdown every game. That quote was from Carson Wentz, and it surprised me because it's not that it isn't true, because it is. Most QBs would think that way, but you're going up against a guy that doesn't think that way. Aaron Rodgers is confident enough, cocky enough to go into each season thinking, I can go undefeated. I can throw a touchdown every game. I'm better than everybody. So I wanted to throw that comparison out there because that's 2 different perspectives. So, Kate, to answer your question, which one leans to, I guess, more passion in this game, it has to be Aaron Rodgers being at 3-0 because Aaron Rodgers, undefeated, wasn't touched last week, is at a different type of level. We always talk about the football gods watching over us. Occasionally, we have one of the players that are playing right now take it to God level. And if he starts to tap dance on where he was when we all thought he was the #1 player in the league, it's dangerous. I agree with you, Shregs. This Packers team, they're just getting started. They're just scratching the surface. And like I said before, the first 3 weeks of this season, that was preseason for Aaron Rodgers. We didn't get to see him. So he's still working out the kinks and cooking like this. What's going to happen when he really catches a rhythm up against the guy on the other sideline who was hyped just like Aaron Rodgers was? You know how he loves that competition. I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers to light it up tonight.
There's 2 teams playing in this game.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in much. At this point, I'm a skeptic. Coins and wishing wells and Christmas miracles. I lie to my kids about the tooth fairy constantly. I don't believe in anything. But I believe in the Philadelphia Eagles back against the wall factor 100%. Some fighters aren't ready to throw punches until they bleed. This is that team. Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Zach Ertz. We've seen it. I believe in the factor of people think we suck, people think we don't matter, and now we're going to start cracking skulls. And I believe in the Jim Schwartz factor. The Eagles defensive coordinator was run out of Detroit. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers used to tear him apart when he was the head coach of the Lions. I think he has something to prove tonight. And there's also one of my favorite theories. One of my favorite theories you guys are familiar with is the theory of being fake bad. The Eagles are a fake bad team.
I agree.
There's some real, genuinely bad teams out there. We've talked about a lot of them. This team is literally 2 plays from being 3-0. Zach Ertz gets the first down against Atlanta. They win that game. Anyone wants to make a catch again last week, they win that game. Guys, I think they're going to win this game. Some teams aren't ready to fight until they get knocked around a little bit. I think the Eagles are going to Lambeau and win tonight.
I hit up the Game Pass. I went back and watched the Eagles game against the Lions. I watched all the drops, all 7 of them. I watched the 3 offensive, the OPIs. I watched the 2 fumbles by Miles Sanders. And I watched Carson Wentz. And I don't know if you're Coach Peterson that you could walk away from the coach's tape and say, I want him to play better. I don't think, could play any better. Could he have put a little bit, gone a little bit further in that throw to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside? Maybe, not really. That's a ball. That's why you were drafted. And this whole thing about being injury riddled and all of that, I don't think the Eagles subscribe to that at all. They lost their franchise, star quarterback who's having an MVP season and went on to win a Super Bowl with their backup. I don't think they're feeling bad for themselves for having a couple of their guys out. Alshon Jeffrey has been out, all of that. Because you drafted Aguilar's a first-round guy. Let's not pretend he's some undrafted kid off the streets. You have J.J. Arcega. He's a second-round guy. These dudes were drafted for a reason by Rosen, put into those situations. They really need to come to play tonight.
They really need to come to play, but Carson Wentz is the leader of that team. And
I think Carson Wentz is playing as good as anybody in the league right now. I really do.
It's not just about playing, though. What we've said before on this show, it's more than just being a good quarterback. Can Carson Wentz talk to his players in the way that Aaron Rodgers does, Tom Brady does?
Does he have the dog?
Does he have that dog in him? Because you know what, Kay? To keep it all the way real with you, being a wide receiver, I don't care how good my quarterback can throw the ball. If he can't motivate me to play as an exaggerated version of myself, then he's not doing his job.
Do you get that vibe from him? How much of this record and their season this year are you putting on Carson Wentz? How much does he deserve?
I don't know what the vibe is in that locker room. I can't speak to it. And I wouldn't be authentic if I sit here and say, well, he doesn't have that dog in him. But what I do know, if your receiver's dropping the ball and the camera cuts to the quarterback and he gets the sign, you got it, you got it. Occasionally, I want you to bark down his throat. Occasionally, I want you to grab him by his jersey and tell him something he don't want to hear. Occasionally, I want you to have a confrontation with your player on the sideline to the point where he has to look in the mirror and say, I'm not going to let my team down or my quarterback. I haven't seen that side of Carson Wentz yet, and I feel like that team needs it, especially now at 1-2.
More on this game all day long. We are hours away from Thursday night football. The Eagles ready to take flight. The Packers looking to make a statement in Green Bay on their home turf. All the history is tonight. It's Eagles-Packers. We're all rivals here. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. Does Devontae Adams score a touchdown?
I think he does.
I hope so. NFL Network, Fox, and Prime Video. Ian Rappaport will be joining us. We've got some good news for Chargers fans, fantasy owners. A lot of people wondering what was going on with Melvin Gordon, but we haven't talked about him in a bit. So, Rap Sheet, what's up?
Finally, the NFL's highest profile holdout ends today. Sources say that Chargers running back Melvin Gordon, the bell cow for this Los Angeles team, is ending his holdout and plans to report to the team later today. Now, I'm told he is not expected to play this weekend against the Miami Dolphins. Simply not enough time to get ready. But he will be back with his teammates, should practice today and begins the process of getting back into the flow of football with the potential to play next week against the Denver Broncos. At this point, Melvin Gordon has stayed away, missed all of training camp, missed a month of the season, has been fined, but he is now going to be back with the team without a new contract, but with a chance to prove that he deserves one after the season. Either way, as the Chargers work to try to get back to full strength after a crazy start to the season, at the very least, they will have their